Do you like good music? That sweet soul music. That's stuck in my head right now. Arthur Conley, I believe, is the name of that singer. Da 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 da. Figure I'll stream for a few hours. Somebody's here. Who could it be? I think I know who it is. You like I Can't Stop by him? Hello. Hello. Yeah. I I decided today that I didn't want to wake up, so I just slept as long as I could. Ended up waking up at about 1:30 p.m. And so this is the first day, I think, where I don't feel much of a sore throat. Although I did wake up with one. But yeah, ever since uh like a month ago or more, I've had a sore throat every day. Hello, 1968. But I did wake up with a sore throat, and I still kind of have one right now, but I don't feel it very much. Which means maybe I'm getting better. I think the dryness of being back in Reno dried out my sinuses, which caused them to get clogged up because I have chronic rhinitis. So my sinuses have to keep draining. And so when they got dried up, they got clogged up, and that caused irritation, possibly even a little bit of infection, which reignited my sore throat, which I originally had in West Virginia, probably mostly due to allergies. STI, maybe. STI. Sty. Thank God your sinus noises are kind of gross. Well, they're gonna keep continuing on. I'm never going to get rid of them because I have chronic rhinitis. So it's a chronic condition. It's not gonna go away. Um, I didn't always have it. When I was a kid, I didn't have it, but I have it now. So from time to time, you're still gonna hear me snorting. It's just something I do. I haven't been cured. Yeah, don't be putting anything icky in your mouth. Um, I mean, what do you mean by icky? What's icky? Icky Vicky. So icky. Every time I think about her makes me oh so sicky. Festering sores? Not up to me to deckside, man. You're the one who said it. So, did you get drunken last night at your buddy's house? No, I didn't really get drunk. I mean, I just got buzzed. Because I was drinking caffeine and alcohol at the same time, and I have a high tolerance for alcohol, so. We finished off the screwball and Kahlua that I bought the day before. In typical me fashion, no matter how much liquor I buy, it doesn't last more than 2 or 3 days. Ohana means family, and family means nobody gets left behind or forgotten. Sounds like a good time. It was alright. It was nice to see him again after my trip. I haven't seen him in a month. We typically see each other maybe once a week, every 2 weeks maybe. So it's been a minute. But yeah, I didn't really get drunk, which is probably a good thing. Because, I do like being drunk, but it's not very good the next day. And so, yeah, I thought it said Obama. I have my definition turned down. What? What are you talking about? Obama? That's healthy. The police will likely be visiting my house soon. Why? Police? What for? Your mug, Ohana, looked like Obama in 360p. Kinda, yeah. A little bit. Obama. Long story short, best friend wrote down a hit list, and now he's on the news, and the state police want his phone. Okay. So what's everyone gonna do this weekend? I guess today is Friday, which means tomorrow is a weekend. I don't really have weekends anymore, though. I haven't had weekends in years. Canadian Thanksgiving. Is Canadian Thanksgiving the same as Columbus Day? Sounds like a lame time. No, it's not. Yes? Is it the same as Columbus Day or no? No. Yes. Is it or not? Quite lame. I'm sure they will see the obscene and disturbing text messages and want to talk to me. I'll just tell them, boys will be boys. What kind of text messages? You can pull it up on stream if you want. Look up WCVB hit list. It's an article from yesterday. Okay. WCVB. Student removed from Danvers School, reportedly making hit list, officials say. Threatening remarks and created a hit list. That's scary, a student said. There are a lot of shootings going on around the U.S., and I don't want it to happen to us. You never know what's going to happen. Okay. And this hit list just exists. It wasn't put in, like, where are people finding this hit list? It's just like in the air. They're just passing it around. It's a meme. All right. Well. Yeah, don't be making hit lists at school. Bad idea. Anyway, we should play the Ouija board live. That sounds boring. Break your tarot cards. Break your tarot cards. I don't have tarot cards. I gave them to my stepfather, remember? Tarot rules. Isn't that 10 years ago? Pull up the article if you can. At the top of the article. What? I just looked at the article. Looks lame. How long is the list that he couldn't just commit it to memory? Yeah, not a good idea, LOL. Like 12 people, he's trying to tell them it was a joke. Yeah, don't go around publishing your hit list in school. Bad idea. In this current climate. Because, so frequently these school shooters have warning signs that get ignored. And so every time that happens, people start saying, well, we have to not ignore these warning signs now. So it's a really dumb fucking idea to go around then publishing a bunch of warning signs about yourself. Like, I'm just saying, like, that was a pretty fucking retarded move from that kid. Anyone watch Donnie Darko? I've seen Donnie Darko. It's a strange film. I remember I had a friend in high school who, her mother liked Donnie Darko. And she said, my mom likes Donnie Darko. And it's a weird movie. And I said, is it good? And she said, no, it's just weird. And then I watched it and I pretty much thought the same thing. It's weird, but it's not good weird. It's just kind of weird. It's watchable, I guess, but it feels very pretentious. Have it on my list to watch tomorrow. Anyone getting hammered this weekend? Well, I'm out of money, and I've been out of money for a little while. But I've still been buying stuff. But I'm at the point where I want to actually make money instead of spending it, so that I don't just accrue more and more interest. I made a big payment yesterday. I made a big $400 payment from my checking accounts, and now I have like $200 left. But I still have like $600 on my balance that I need to pay off. So I basically have negative $400 right now that I have to work off. So no, I'm not getting hammered. Watched a Stephen King show called The Dark Half about a writer with a split personality. Kind of a modern retelling of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. The Curious Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Dr. Jekyll? Get hammered to forget you're broke. I don't actually need to forget that I'm broke. I am not too uncomfortable with the information. And to the bank, it doesn't look like I'm broke because I still have money in my account. I like the Louis C.K. bit where he was talking about having no money and he gets a call from the bank. And she says, you don't have enough money in your account. And he goes, yeah, I don't, do I? No. And she goes, sir, you have insufficient funds. And he says, yeah, that's a good way to put it. I would say my funds are grossly insufficient. And she's like, sir, you're not allowed to have this much money in your account. And he says, look, I'm not doing it just to fuck with you. I just straight up don't have the money. So has Marilyn Manson rolled into your town, and will you go see him live on Ozempic? I don't think you've been paying attention to my channel. I made a whole video about seeing Marilyn Manson. And I don't think Marilyn Manson is taking Ozempic. I just think he lost weight. The amount of weight he lost is really not that much. I think it's weird that people keep talking about Ozempic for Marilyn Manson as if the dude has just this insatiable appetite that needs to be curbed. No, he just kind of stopped drinking. When you stop drinking, you tend to lose weight. Is that show still available streaming or DVD only? I don't know. No, you know what? He has it on his website. You can just straight up buy it on his website now. He must have acquired the rights to it. You ever watch Eddie Izzard? My brother likes Eddie Izzard. I've never really looked at him much. Yeah, sorry, I forgot. Nah, he's on Ozempic. Some people think he had surgery done to remove his buccal fat around his neck and cheeks, but he still has the little thing there. I mean, he's always had that, even when he was really skinny. I think he still has that. But how did he stop drinking? Ozempic helps curb drinking too. I don't think he needs Ozempic to stop drinking. I just think he decided to change his behavior, which he's done in the past. I mean, he did it when he was making Antichrist Superstar. He changed his behavior then. I don't think Marilyn Manson got like stone cold sober or anything, but I think that he, made a change. Stopped doing what he was doing and got refocused. I imagine getting married had a lot to do with it. That's the thing that's craziest to me about the people who are overweight is that they don't stop drinking soda. That's like the easiest thing to stop doing because it's not even good. Soda isn't even good, but people keep drinking it as if they're addicted to it. It's like, what? How? How do you get addicted to soda? Just drink water. Tastes good. It's refreshing. Let's hope for the best, expect the worst, LOL. Marketing. People are stupid. Yeah, instead they start drinking 0-calorie, 0-sugar soda like Coke Zero. I know, just stop drinking it, guys. Like, it ain't that hard. It really is not that hard. Like, if you can't even give up on soda, what hope do you have of giving up on any kind of food that you like? What hope do you have of ever losing weight if you can't even make the decision to stop drinking soda? Water does not taste terrible unless you, like, live in a place with bad water. Like, if you live in Salt Lake City and you just drink it out of the tap, it doesn't taste very good. If you buy Fiji and drink that, yeah, it's not going to taste very good. But if you have like a nice water filtration system or a place that actually has good tap water, then water tastes really good. Drink water, add a lemon or lime. That could be good for some people. But honestly, just water is better. It's more refreshing, I think. You'd lose more weight giving up bread than soda. I mean, you could choose any food group to give up except for like vegetables, you know? Like anything that you eat a lot of, if you cut that out, you lose a lot of weight. And if you drink a lot of soda, yeah, you'll actually see some difference, I think, if you cut that out. Cuz soda does have a lot of calories. A good water filter and mountain spring water, so refreshing. Yeah, it's strange to me that people don't know how good water is. And I think it's kind of always been like that. I mean, throughout human history, people have never really liked drinking water. They will drink water from time to time, but it's generally not the favored drink in history. Usually, people are drinking other things. But I think water is the best thing, especially these days when you can get really nice, pure, good water anywhere you want. I kind of wish that bottled water tasted more like real water, though, because they'll add things into it. They'll add minerals and stuff into it that's supposed to make it taste better. When it doesn't really, it just makes it taste more like a swimming pool. Like they should just bottle the stuff that's like reverse osmosis filtered from the tap, good pure water. They should just bottle that instead of adding stuff into it. I mean, bottled water tastes okay, but it's just not as good as real water. So I don't know why they don't just use real water. It would taste better. I think it would do better. It would sell better. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. My neighbor keeps connecting this stream to their TV. Could you tell them to stop? Huh? How is your neighbor connecting what? Sorry, huh? I don't understand. Don't understand. I once ordered dried out Carolina Reaper, hot peppers, and I swallowed one whole, and 6 hours later I woke up from dead sleep around 2 a.m. and I thought my appendix or organs burst open, and I was foaming. Yeah, I guess you got to start the digestion process in the mouth with those peppers, or else they'll hit you later on in a really bad way. Has to have the right pH level and mineral content. Pure natural spring water has that. Bottomless Pit says, "Hey man, I think you are cute." Smiley face. Aw, thank you. Carl 2 says, "Yep, he's as cute as can be." Aw, thank you, Carl 2. I crawled around the floor the entire night. It was terrible. Yeah, yeah. No shortcuts with Carolina Reapers. You gotta take it in the mouth. You gotta really taste it if you wanna survive. 1968 says cute as a button. Aw. Little Cozy Nostril says, "I think you're okay." Life lessons. Yes. Life lessons. I'm feeling pretty calm right now. Don't have any worries right now. Not really. So, what's in the cup? Just coffee. Hottest pepper I've ever had was just a pickled ghost pepper. I imagine pickling would make it a little bit less potent. I've been letting my hair grow out a little bit, and it has so far kind of impressed me how if I just let it keep going, it kind of sorts itself out with the shape. Because the shape of my hair is important to me, and so I've for a long time been kind of keeping it a little bit shorter to keep the shape the way I want it. But I've found lately that if I let it grow past the point where I usually cut it because it starts getting all misshapen, it kind of sorts itself out. And then I like having more hair to work with. Um, that being said, I probably will cut it at some point soon. Trim off some parts of it, but I want to see if I can keep growing it a little bit longer and keep the shape. See how long I can get it while keeping this general shape. Because I do like having more hair, you know. It's harder to clean, but it's nicer to kind of have. How do you brew your coffee? It's instant coffee. So I have a kettle, and I have 1 jar of decaf and 1 jar of regular coffee. So what I usually do is I put 3 scoops of decaf and 3 scoops of regular coffee, so it makes a really strong cup. And because I'm vegan again right now, I don't put anything in it. I just drink it as is. Carolina Reaper was deadly. I'm drinking hot cocoa with butterscotch liqueur. You know, with the peanut butter and Kahlua flavor last night, it was giving me a butterscotch note. There's definitely a butterscotch kind of deal there. Non-dairy creamer. I mean, I could. There are vegan creamers, but the thing is, they haven't invented a good vegan alternative to half and half. All they have is vegan alternatives to like Coffee Mate. But I don't really like Coffee Mate all that much. It's okay sometimes. Sometimes I enjoy it. But really, I prefer half and half. Half and half is just a much smoother flavor. Because it brings out the good qualities in the coffee rather than kind of smothering it, which I think Coffee Mate does. It just smothers the flavor. Um, and then all you're tasting is the Coffee Mate rather than the actual coffee. And so they've only really been able to make alternatives to Coffee Mate. But when it comes to actual half and half, there really is no alternative. So I just drink it black usually. Every once in a while I might buy a vegan creamer, but and also the vegan creamers that are really good usually have soy in them, and I can't have that anymore. Sometimes you'll get one that doesn't. Have you guys met up, Carl? Yes, we have. Just crack a refreshing soda and pour some of that in there. That would be pretty dumb. Pretty dumb additive. Soda actually can work as an additive to liquor, though. But it's usually not going to be a great tasting drink, I don't think. Like cream soda with cheap whiskey, like a nice cream soda with Evan Williams can be good. But at that point, I mean, it's really more about getting the Evan Williams down than enjoying it, you know. So are you confirmed about being a non-denominational humanoid? Motherfucker, fuck the fucking world, and my new band is called Siskill. If I didn't know any better, I would describe you as a soy boy. Well, I used to eat a lot of soy. I used to love soy, and I still do love the flavor of soy. But I'm allergic to it, unfortunately. Yup, we had a great time. Ginger beer with dark rum. I don't like dark rum. I've had it twice, and I've hated it both times. I think dark rum is pretty disgusting. I like light rum. I like Bacardi. But dark rum tastes revolting to me. LOL. LOL. Soy sauce is great. I don't care what anyone says. Soy sauce is pretty good. Another thing that's pretty good, another version of soy sauce that's made a little bit differently, is liquid aminos, made by the Bragg Company. If you are a fan of soy sauce, try out liquid aminos and see what you think about that. Very similar sauce, same ingredient, soy. Unfortunately, I can't eat either of those. Hi there, I was in a movie, so I didn't join when it started. Bacardi is good. Bacardi is pretty good. I was impressed by the flavor, yes. Jumps into solid ice. That's a great video. Motherfucker, fuck the fucking world, and my new band is called Siskill. Oh, haven't heard of liquid amino. We'll give it a try. Thanks for the tip. You're welcome for the tip, yes. Some people just call it Bragg's. But the company is called Bragg. It's a brand, and they make other products, like, for instance, nutritional yeast. But one of their signature products is liquid aminos. Oyster sauce and fish sauce. Yes, anchovy sauce is a thing that flavors a lot of different foods. You should play that advertisement now. I'll send it on the Discord. You really want me to chill for some bullshit? Okay. Fine. You're my friend, so I'll do it. I don't see it yet. When it pops up, I'll play it. Also, coconut aminos. Yes. That's a thing, too. And that's something I'm not allergic to. Do you believe that Allah is just a statistic? Allah?
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Well, Allah is just the Arabic word for God. It's also the Maltese word for God. I don't know what Marilyn Manson meant when he said God is just a statistic on his song Post-Human. But it's similar to the part on that same song where he says, God is a number you cannot count to. We are post-human and hardwired. I haven't gotten to that song in my analysis yet. You have to upload a file? You mean upload it to Discord? Fibonacci sequence thing or something from what I read on Nachtkabarett. That's probably tangentially related to it, but I don't think he was really getting to that as the main point there. Can God divide by 0? Well, if you think about it, dividing something into no parts you would basically have to destroy the value and render it 0. But that doesn't follow the same function as normal division. It's on the Discord now. Which ones have you gotten to? I've done the first 3. I've finished my analysis of the first 3 songs. Great Big White World, The Dope Show, and Mechanical Animals. And I've also done, of course, Apple of Sodom and Long Hard Road Out of Hell. So I've done 5 songs for that video so far. But I still have a lot to go. And right now, I can't really work on Rock is Dead because I have to read a bunch of interviews. I'm still working on that. And the reason I haven't finished that is because I've been doing other projects too. Like I'm working on a video about drag movies. And I'm reading a book for that. I'm about 75% of the way through that book. It's kind of a short one. I'm also making a video about the history of clowns, reading a book for that. So I'm really just in a reading stage for my videos right now. And then, of course, there's the Italy video, which I've been procrastinating on, and I'm not quite sure what the next step in that project is. Because I didn't really like the footage that I ended up with first time I tried to shoot it. So I want to come back to that at some point and see what I can make out of it. It's on the Discord now. Interesting, always wondered that. Pink flamingos. Hmm.
Set off the
The fuck is this shit?
bomb.
Bomb-ass recipes.
Bill Ayers is a professor of education in Chicago.
He stirs the vinaigrette while she mixes the salad greens.
We know Bill Ayers ran the violent left-wing activist group called Weather Underground.
He checks the refrigerator for hors d'oeuvres while she inspects the garden.
We know Ayers' wife was on the FBI's 10 most wanted list.
They could be any successful middle-aged professional couple, unless you know their past.
We know they bombed the
Choosing
Capitol,
normal,
the Pentagon,
plain-looking
and Judge
foods such as bread,
is home.
cream,
Set off
white sauce,
Bomb-ass
and
recipes.
aspic
They
keep
spent a
the body
decade
ticking
underground
over
to
just
avoid bombing and
nicely.
riot charges. The images clash so powerfully, they raise inevitable questions about radical rage giving way to bourgeois comfort.
There's no right answer. Am I the militant in black leather shouting slogans, or am I, was described once as a suburban matron? This is Brandon Dawn. Within the next 14 days,
Bomb-ass recipes.
All right. Yeah, I tried heroin a couple times and never got addicted. Felt like a nice warm hug. Shame people get addicted to it. Lots of mind trash on the poo tuber. Yeah, I don't think it's a good idea to try heroin. I'm a bit high on codeine right now, but that's for pain relief from the neck surgery I had 2 days ago. Sounds nice. You know, there's a lot of books that I should read for that mechanical animals video. And I don't feel like reading them, but I feel like I should. So it's kind of annoying. Because I don't like reading fiction. If it were nonfiction, okay. Like I read the essay, The Mechanical Bride. What books? Well, the two that come to mind are Brave New World and A Scanner Darkly. Because those were books that influenced that album. Mechanical Animals was a great concept, almost like Bowie type of shit. Well, it was certainly, it took influence from The Man Who Fell to Earth. which is another book I could read for that project. And also The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. I think that it went much further than David Bowie ever went, though. Both great books, but I thought the movie of Scanner Darkly was poor, to be honest. Okay. Brave New World is pretty short. Good, but short. Mechanical Animals was my favorite. Yeah, I really want to get that video done. I'm also thinking of reviving a project I started earlier this year, or maybe last year. Yeah, I started it last year, like in December. Looking at Frank Capra movies. And I'm not going to do it in a kind of marathon fashion like a lot of YouTubers do, or like I'm going to do with my drag video, where it's like reviewing every movie or whatever. But I want to look at the themes of some of his movies. I want to watch all of them up to the point where they stop being interesting, going backwards, and I have been doing that. But I want to look at his kind of social message movies. Talk a bit about the meaning of those films. Especially It's a Wonderful Life, which I think is just an incredible movie. Yes, Frank Capra. I remember we discussed him and his writer he collaborated closely with. Yeah, but that writer did not do all of his social message movies, and that was like I was talking to my brother about it, and he was like, oh, don't bother looking at all of Capra's movies, just look at the ones by this writer. And then I looked into it, and like there's like one or two of the big ones that I wanted to look at that he didn't write. So I was like, come on. Come on. It was a little bit more than just that writer. But yeah. He did Mr. Deeds Goes to Town, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, It's a Wonderful Life, You Can't Take It With You. I think those are the kind of main big ones as far as social message films that he did. But I'm going through all of them. The next one I want to watch is a Bing Crosby movie called Riding High, I believe, which looks like a cowboy movie, which I'm not very excited about. But I like Bing Crosby, so that'll probably get me through the film. He was good in the one he made after that, which was Here Comes the Groom. The only Capra I've seen is It's a Wonderful Life. What else would you recommend? I would definitely recommend You Can't Take It With You. That's a great movie. Lionel Barrymore, who played Mr. Potter, plays this like really genuine, nice old man. And there is another character who is kind of like the equivalent of Mr. Potter in that movie, but he's not as evil as Mr. Potter. He's the dad of Jimmy Stewart's character in You Can't Take It With You, because Jimmy Stewart is also in that movie. It's a musical racetrack movie. Okay. I'm hoping the music will be good. I enjoyed the music in Here Comes the Groom. But that movie was a weird film. Like when it got to the last hour or so, the last 45 minutes or so, like the last half of the movie, very weird. The horse you see is for horse racing. I see. But sometimes those movies can be hard to find for free, and I don't have any money right now. Which is why I'm probably not going to watch those two movies I wanted to see in the cinema until they're probably toward the end of their run in the cinemas. Hopefully I can catch them before they leave. Was Jesus an actual Jew? Well, he has a Jewish name. I don't know why he would not be Jewish if he had a Jewish name. His name was Joshua. You don't see a lot of non-Jews back in the day named Joshua. So I would say yes, Jesus was an actual Jew. Now, I remember I was looking at, I can't remember what website it was. It was one of these sort of right-wing alternatives to YouTube. I can e-transfer you $40 for booze. Well, I'm not going to spend it on booze. If I get $40, I'm just going to save it to put it in my credit card balance. So I'm not really interested in drinking right now. He was supposedly a Pharisee. Do Americans have e-transfer? I don't know what that is. I mean, I assumed you just were referring to basic like internet wallets, which I have a couple of those. I don't know, is e-transfer an actual type of internet wallet? Jesus built my hot rod. I think if you did a video about deconstructing American fascism, namely George Lincoln Rockwell, it would be really interesting. Well, I do intend to look into that stuff later on, but I don't know when I'll be able to get to it. I'm not sure when I'll be able to get to fascism again in general. I really want to figure out a way to make that work. But this Italy shit is just kind of clogging up the works, proving a much bigger than I'd intended originally. I don't know. Donate to his Patreon. Was Jewish an actual Jesus? I was looking at this right-wing YouTube alternative. I can't remember which one it was, but there was a video some guy made where he was he had figured out that Jesus was not Jewish, and that the modern-day people called Jews are not the same people as the old Israelites of the Bible. And he had some reasons, I guess, for believing such. But that's the kind of scary video you find every now and then. Patreon, give the full amount or Jew some. Let me think. Yeah, Patreon does exact a commission fee. But it's not as much as you would think, I don't believe. Have you ever watched Thulian Perspective? No, I have not. That sounds like something that could not survive on YouTube. Oh, it survived for a few years. Interesting. Funnily enough, it didn't survive. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't expect it to. Called Thulian Perspective. It's surprising that it managed to survive at all. It must have done a lot of dog whistling. Yeah, I'll donate. I joined the Patreon bullshit. Well, thank you. Thank you. Ugh. Stolas, yeah. Hala is Allah backwards. It is, isn't it? Is Hala an actual thing? I don't know what Hala is. I don't believe I've ever heard of Hala. I've heard of Allah, but not Hala. Hala, hala, hala. In Spanish, that word would be pronounced aya. And in Icelandic, it would be hatla. In Welsh, it would be halla. And in Italian, it would be Allah. I'm out of coffee. We could watch a video. I don't have much on the playlist right now, but I do have a couple of things. See, I saw this video pop up in my feed that was saying, Vivzy Pop is a horrible person, I think. Curious to see what that's about. Yeah, Vivzy Pop is a bad person, part 1. Part 1. And it's 44 minutes and 20, 30 something. I can't read that. But it's long. Kind of curious to see what this is about. What's the deal with this?
You ever hear the tragedy of Vivienne the trust fund baby?
Already bad start. We have a trite sort of Revenge of the Sith, Darth Plagueis kind of parody. Like, we haven't seen that a million times before. And trust fund baby. Okay, so we're just being classist here, okay? We hate rich people just because they have what we don't have, and that makes us butthurt. Not a good start. Not really a great way to get me on board immediately, you know? Just open rank classism and shitty ass fucking trite parodies of stuff that everyone's satirized 1,000 times already. I don't know, man. Like, I don't want to get too biased right off the bat, but you're not exactly doing yourself any favors with this one. Desperate Living is my favorite John Waters film. I haven't seen that movie, but I do just love that scene that was sampled at the end of Portrait of an American Family, because that actress just is so funny in that scene. Haughty tone. She wore white after Labor Day. Okay, let's keep going.
I thought not. It's not a story ILMAO would tell you. Before I jump into it, I just wanted to explain the format. The visuals on the screen right now don't have anything to do with the subject at hand.
This person sounds a lot like the other person we were reviewing who hated Stolas.
So you can, treat this like a podcast. You can put it down, walk away, do something else. I will be putting up screenshots, but I'll be reading them out. Every once in a while, I'll have something on screen that I'm not reading out for the sake of saving time, but I'll always let you know when I do. And the visuals are there for anybody that isn't really into podcasts. 2 quick things before we start. One is that throughout the course of this whole series, I often will say video, and what I mean is the series, but when I was originally recording this, I thought that I would put it out as all one video.
Oh my
And the second
God,
thing
who
is
cares?
that sometimes you can hear my chair creaking. I've edited it out where I can, obviously.
Who
but when it happens while I'm
cares whether your chair is creaking? Jesus.
talking, there's not really anything I can do. I now use a less creaky chair. I'm professional enough to apologize, but not professional enough to re-record for
No, the professional thing would just be to ignore it because nobody gives a shit about a creaky chair. Anyway, what if money was the root of all evil? Would you comprehend its meaning with the base code of human existence? I don't know what that means.
hours. There's so much here that I don't even know where to start. I guess I'll just jump right in. Okay, so I'm not a super online person, at least relatively speaking, but I don't live under a rock either. So I knew that Vivian Medrano was a controversial figure, but I think that there's a bit of a boy who cried wolf situation going on. Whenever I looked at people's evidence for her being a bad guy, it was always a nothing burger. Like somebody would say, oh,
Okay, so this might be a video defending Vivzy Pop. There we go.
Vivian Medrano, literally the devil. And then I'd go look at the source. It'd be a screenshot of a terse but completely normal workplace conversation. Or it'd be the bathtubs.
What if evil was an abstract and money an excuse? I don't know what that means.
Snakes. For those not in the know, Vivian Medrano once drew a character naked in a bathtub full of snakes, and that makes her the devil. I'm so tired of hearing about the bathtub snakes. Shut up about the bathtub snakes. Rebecca Sugar drew Eden in any porn, and nobody bothers her about that. This is me from the future. It turns out actually people did very much bother her about that, but regardless, animators drawing weird lewd stuff is a time-honored tradition that dates back to the Disney Golden Age. Anyway, as you can tell, I got tired of looking into it. So at some point, when people said that Viv was a bad person, I stopped checking their sources. I just rolled my eyes and scrolled on past it. But a few months ago...
Yeah, I know it's following up on what the
hole,
Canadian goose shit said, but I just don't
Vivian
get it.
Medrano's bad behavior. And I've been falling down that rabbit hole ever since. I'm starting to think it's bottomless. So vague preview of what we'll look into. This doesn't cover everything, but overall, we're going to look at how she dropped almost the entire pilot cast and crew of Hazbin Hotel. We'll look at her studio Spindle Horse. And
I have heard of that.
Well, underpaying their workers doesn't seem like it sums up the situation well enough. We'll get there. How another indie animation team hates her so much that they refuse to accept $5,000. I don't know why, but there must be a why. What I've called in my notes the poison debacle.
Base code of human existence, if it were computer code, would make sense.
Her history of failing to give credit for art. We'll talk a little bit about transphobia. We'll mostly.
Well, I don't know anything about computers.
And we're also going to talk about her employee, Raphael, even though it's not really something she did wrong. Because it's just, the whole situation with Raphael is so weird. I need to, I can't leave it out. After that, we're going to move on from general wrongdoings to personal accounts from former friends and employees. We will go over the accounts of Starvader, Doll Creep, Faustis, Zurl,
How about
Kira,
we just start going
Kat,
over the stuff right
Ken,
now, you know?
Salem,
How about we just
and
you know,
yes,
get
the
to the
infamous
point?
Aaron Frost.
That would be great. Here we go.
So here's how this all started for me. I watched Hazbin Hotel. Because, I mean, of course I did.
So did
I
I.
thought the pilot showed a great amount of potential, and I've been
So did
following
I.
the project for over 5 years at this point, so of course I watched Hazbin Hotel. And I thought I didn't like it. You don't have to agree with me to watch the video. It's not what the video is about. I'm just trying to explain how I started looking into this. And when I say I didn't like it, that's a kinder, softer.
With the advancements of AI, it makes sense we will be obsolete eventually. That's what Manson said when he was doing Mechanical Animals. He said that man makes himself more irrelevant with what he creates. Anyway, what did she say?
With me to watch the video. It's not what the video is about. I'm just trying to explain how I started looking into this. And when I say I didn't like it, that's a...
Didn't like what?
You don't have to... Over 5 years at this point, so of course I watched Hazbin Hotel. And I thought... I didn't like it.
Yeah, okay.
You don't have to agree with me to watch the video. It's not what the video is about. I'm just trying to explain how I started looking into this. And when I say I didn't like it, that's a kinder, softer way of saying that I thought it was terrible. I think it's abysmal. I know that it's done perfectly well for itself. I know that it's broken the Prime streaming record, but I genuinely think that it is...
I just don't know how you can watch Hazbin Hotel and come out with the impression that it's a terrible show. I just don't understand how that's possible. Like, what are you looking at? Like, do you have any love for musical animated comedies? Like, any at all? Because if you do, I just don't understand how you can love that genre and then watch this show and then just come out with the impression that it's just worthless. It's just garbage. Like, at least have some respect for it. I just don't get how you can even get to that point. It's just so weird.
99.5%, probably more, just riding on the success of the pilot.
And is that such a bad thing?
But-
Probably not.
So I watched Hazbin
Lovely
Hotel.
Butterflies.
I thought it was bad. But I wanted to know why. Not why I thought it was bad. I could talk for a very long time. But why did they fumble it? Why?
I haven't seen If. I have no clue what's going to be talked about, but this is entertaining. Okay. Could be a little bit better on the syntax there, but okay. I don't like HH's brand of comedy, painful viewing. Sure, if you don't find it very funny, I can understand. But there's a lot more to it than just the comedy. You know, like the songs alone, the musical numbers alone. I mean, can you not enjoy those? Those are incredible. Nah, it's just progressing.
Why was it bad when the pilot was good? I wanted...
Yeah, and that's the other weird thing. How can you like the pilot and then hate the series? That's even weirder. Because, like, I understand even, like... with what Quibble said. He doesn't like the brand of comedy. The comedy was better in the show than it was in the pilot. The pilot had some kind of weird off writing at times that turned a lot of people off. I just don't get, like, people who like the pilot and then hate the show. Even if the show wasn't the direction you wanted it to go in after seeing the pilot. Like, I understand some people maybe had an idea for what the show would be, and then it ended up being a lot more kind of bombastic and cosmic in orientation in a way that they didn't expect. And that might have thrown them off. You know, it subverted their expectations. But hating the show for that seems very strange to me. It's people who don't like the music, I think. How can you not like the music in Has Been Hotel? It's great. It's fucking awesome. Stayed Gone, Hell's Greatest Dad, Poison, Loser Baby, Happy Day in Hell, Hell's Forever. I mean, the songs in that show are fucking just bangers. You didn't know? I haven't seen it. I have no clue what's being talked about, but this is entertaining. It's we're talking about Vivzy Pop, the creator of Has Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss, and how she is supposedly a bad person. Yeah, I just don't know how you can not like at least part of the show. I know, I don't get it either. The music is great. Yeah.
To know more. And I thought it would be a much harder answer to find than it was.
Respectless?
It's because they weren't made by the same people. Medrano dropped everyone that worked on the pilot for the series. Well,
yeah, I mean, how did that line go? Oops, did I strike a nerve? 'Cause when I brought out the angel's head, couldn't help but observe that your wrinkled face was turning red. And why are you avoiding war? That's what the guns you sell are for. Thanks to my being respectless. One thing I'm starting to suspect is you know why this angel's headless? Do you have a disclosure? This meeting's over. Fantastic. It just fucking hits. But it just doesn't click for some, I guess. Yeah, I guess. Some people just don't know when a good thing is right at their feet.
I don't mean to misrepresent the good woman. She dropped almost everyone. I can count the number of people she retained on my fingers. So, what I wanted to know first was how many people who worked on the pilot were retained, in what categories, what were the percentages. So I screenshotted all of the different frames of the credits for both the pilot and any episode of the series. The credits are the same on each. And fed them into optical character recognition. And an amendment here, I also obviously checked the OCR. Like, I double-checked the data. And sorted out the data. The grand total of names that are in both credits is 9. Sorry if I butcher them. Vivian Medrano, Sam Miller, Adam Bojorquez, Carlos Schwepper, Matthew Margarison, Michael Ruocco, Evan Alderate, Gooseworks, and Perry Grip. Mick Lauer was technically retained, but he was downgraded.
Gooseworks. So is she doing the soundtrack? Does she do the score on the actual Prime series too? Or if not, then what does she do on that show?
From Husk to Trenchcoat Demon, so I'm straight up just not counting that. That doesn't count, and he's a more gracious person than I am for accepting the role. So, going back to the Has Been pilot credits.
I mean, I don't think that's, like, if I were that guy, and the guy I was being replaced with was Keith David, I would be like, fair game. It's Keith David. I mean, what do you want? To settle for me when you could have Keith David? I mean, I think for some people, they can understand their own limitations, you know? And that sometimes a better talent can come along and do their job better. I think that's understandable. I would feel the same way if I were that guy. It's Keith David, come on.
the credits are a little bit messy since it was a bit of a scrap together project.
Symbolism.
Working double roles. What I did is I just only counted people in the first thing they were credited for, which isn't a perfect system, but it's the best I could do. So if we analyze the data by only counting each person as the first thing they were credited for, so that everyone gets
The first thing they were credited for? What? Why?
one role, we retained 0 out of 4 right.
Yeah, but they still, like, if that's your criteria, then who's to say, like, who they retained in a different capacity? You're already setting this up as you're misleading people with the data. I don't know. This is a strange way to start the argument out, but okay.
Writers, 0 out of 4 producers, 0 out of 13 main voice actors, 0 out of 7
It's just the nature of the
additional voice
entertainment
actors,
business,
0 out
you
of
know?
1 voice directors, 0 out of 4 additional character designers,
Well, I mean,
0 out of
like, it's a no fucking brainer. You start making Hazbin Hotel as an independent pilot, and your whole goal is to get picked up by a bigger studio with more resources. I don't think it should be a surprise to anybody working on that team that they're not there to, like, sign their talents onto the main show. They're there to bring this pilot into existence. And then what happens after the pilot is totally up to the discretion of the producers. Right? I fail to see where any of this is unethical or promising more than what was delivered.
8 visual developers, 1 out of 3 background artists, 0 out of 6 illustrators, 0 out of 9 storyboarders, 0 out of 3 cleanup leads, 4 out of 19 animators, 0 out of 31 cleanup animators, 0 out of 3 compositors, 0 out of 5 sound designers, 2 out of 3 people who worked on the score, and 1 out of 5 people who
Sorry
worked on
though,
the
but
songs.
like, how many of these people were retained by Spindlehorse when they made Hell of a Boss? This isn't being discussed. I mean, this person makes it sound like these people were just dropped, but I'm not seeing any evidence of that so far, because I'm willing to bet, like, if they need all this crew to make Hell of a Boss, why wouldn't they use the same crew from the pilot of Hazbin Hotel? Obviously, they're going to want to use people they've already hired and used in the past, so I think if you were to do the same experiment that this person did from the pilot of Hazbin Hotel to the series of Hazbin Hotel, and look at the pilot of Hazbin Hotel to the series of Hell of a Boss, you'll see a lot more retention, because that's the project they're being used for, not, like, Hazbin Hotel. Yes, Spindlehorse is involved in that creation, but it's not the only studio. You also have Bento Box and A24. So, and Spindlehorse doesn't even get top billing on that show. Their logo appears at the end of the show. A24 gets top billing, and then below them, Bento Box at the beginning. So that leads me to think that the capacity to which Spindlehorse is involved in the production of Hazbin Hotel is reduced compared to what they are with Hell of a Boss, where they're basically the sole creator of that show, the sole producer of that show. So yeah, so far this is a very weird way to set up this argument. This is a very strange kind of, like, I just don't get why this person thought that this was the way to go about making this point. Even if they want to make this point, this is a very illogical way to present it, setting it up, you know.
Quick recap. This is counting anybody in any role, even if they were credited multiple times. Even counting it like that, the roles that 0 people carried over from were producers, main voice actors, additional character design, visual development, lead animators, cleanup animators, lead cleanup animators, SFX, CGI, and visual effects. And the areas in which only Vivian Madrano herself carried over were writers, additional voice actors, illustrators, cleanup animators, and compositors. The series, since it's, studio produced, much less messy, there are only 3 people that double dip. There's 1 person on character layout and character design.
I think we
there
get
are
the
2 people
point
on
by
character
now.
layout and retake animation. So I did some math on this. 128 people are credited on the pilot. 97 if you don't count cleanup. 245 people are credited on the series. 218 if you don't count the outsourced labor at Toon City. 169, nice, if you don't count Toon City or...
I'm never a big fan when YouTubers will set up a point that just feels like it's gonna go nowhere and lead to nothing substantive, but then they just spend forever setting it up. It's like, okay, I think I got what you're getting at, and it doesn't get any better the more you keep talking about it.
Or the cleanup. Not because cleanup animators don't matter, but because it is one of the most mechanical aspects, and you need so many that it inflates the numbers. And not because outsourced animators don't matter, but because outsourcing the animation is, as far as I know, completely out of Medrano's control, and is something that would have happened even if, every single person came back on. So not counting cleanup animators or outsourced labor,
Oh my fucking god,
9.3%
this
of
is
the
so
people who worked
boring.
on the pilot were retained for the main show, and 5.3%
Yeah,
of the
this
people
person
who
is
worked
just
on the
rambling.
main series had worked on the pilot. I think I'm starting to see the problem.
Oh, you're starting to, huh?
Except, I was lying. Much later, I realized that you can't just take the credits raw, because the credits for the series are the same on every episode, as I said. But Bento Box animated the first 7 episodes. Spindle Horse animated the last episode. You may recognize that name. It's Vivienne's own studio, the one that she founded and the one that makes Hell of a Boss. The point is, there is a whole section of people credited on the Hazbin Hotel series that were actually only brought in for the last episode, and they were brought in as an emergency measure when Bento Box just refused to do it. Meaning that the animators, the 4 animators that I credited as being retained, actually weren't. They happened to work on it at the very last minute because
that
literally
just
nobody
hold
else
on. That
would.
just shows that they were retained.
to recap,
They were
we
retained for Spindle Horse, not Bento Box. They never fucking worked for Bento Box. And by the way, the pilot of Hazbin Hotel wasn't even technically made by Spindle Horse, because Spindle Horse was created when they made the series for Hell of a Boss. So that was just a loose collection of freelancers back then. There wasn't even any concept of retention back then. But yeah, this just goes against your whole point. I mean, this just shows that they were retained by Spindle Horse, not that they weren't. What the fuck?
Had in the total 9 retained, not counting McLauer, because that. Vivienne, obviously, creator and such. Sam Miller, who worked on the backgrounds. Then we had 4 animators and 3 people on music. And those 4 animators don't count. And Perry Grip, I'm not certain, but I'm pretty sure that Perry Grip only did the opening credits jingle, as opposed to on the pilot he helped write songs. And Gooseworks and Evan Alderate worked on the score, not on the songs. Not that that matters, they still worked on it, but the songs were made by completely different people. And then Vivian Medrano, obviously.
Okay, so Goosework
and
did
pretty much
do
the only
the
person
score.
that was just
Interesting.
retained in their full capacity was Sam Miller. She should go play the lottery. No, I'm just kidding. You don't increase your odds of winning the lottery by being Vivian Medrano's best friend for now. She likes to cycle through them, as we'll get to much later. So to sum up,
That's a cute
out of the
little
entire pilot
hummingbird.
crew, Vivian Medrano as creator, Sam Miller on backgrounds, and then 2 people on the score. And every single other person that worked on the pilot did not come back, and every single other person that worked on the main series had not worked on the pilot. So the problem becomes evident. And pretty much everyone knows about the cast being recast. It was a huge scandal. But I have not seen, and this doesn't mean that they haven't, but I have not seen a single other person mention the rest of the crew. And for a second there, I was doubting myself.
Yeah, because they were retained, apparently. I mean, what point is this? And by the way, the cast never complained about this shit. It was just a bunch of haters complaining about it. The cast, I don't remember hearing any cast members getting all butthurt about not being retained on the show. They seem to understand the terms of their agreement pretty well. Charlie Parker on drums. Charlie Parker doesn't play drums. He plays the saxophone.
And I was like, it's so weird that, like, no animators or artists, except for the one, like, maybe we didn't mean for them to come back. Maybe this is a misunderstanding on my
you
part.
think?
Like, how can
Yeah,
this
you
be
think?
happening and no one is talking about it? Like, I must be misunderstanding
Oh my
something.
god, yes. Don't you love it when YouTubers just admit that they didn't understand, that they misunderstand the situation, and then they upload the video anyway? They're like, maybe I'm just an idiot. Oh, you think? I could have told you that, but you told yourself beforehand, and you still made the video. Where is this person getting this idea that the animators from the pilot were ever supposed to be retained for the show? Where is this idea even coming from? That would have been a good thing to set it up with. If you have any evidence for that, set that up at the beginning instead of going through this long, drawn out, like, so none of these people, none of these people, none of these people, none of these people. And it's like the whole time the audience, if they have any critical thinking, is watching this video thinking, okay, but where was it ever established that they would be retained? And by the way, some of them were retained on the show for that one episode that Spindle Horse actually did make. And like I said, it's pretty likely that most of them were retained for Hell of a Boss, so yeah, this just makes no sense. This is so dumb. So what's her point again? Her point is that these people were all dropped after the pilot. But where was it established that they weren't supposed to be dropped? Where was it established that they were supposed to be retained? I have not once has she ever provided any evidence that this is true. And right now, she's seeming to be making the point that she just made it up. She just made up this idea that they were supposed to be retained because she's like, nobody's talking about this. Well, maybe nobody's talking about it because it's not an issue, and you're just making it an issue when it's not one.
No, I shouldn't have doubted myself. I found a tweet from Viv from March 2022. Put it up on the screen right now, and I'll read it for you. Artists working on the show are finally able to announce, and I'm thrilled that so many of the artists who helped craft the original vision are on board to make this show what it is destined to be. I can't express how excited I am. #HasbitHotel.
This is
Seriously,
2022.
It's amazing. So thankful. Smiley emoji with hearts. Reply to her own tweet. The indie... I'm sorry. The indie...
Keep yourself together. It ain't that fucking funny. Stop
lives
exaggerating.
on. And now artists old and new are gonna bring you all a fully realized animated season. I cannot wait. Purple demon emoji, music notes emoji, heart emoji. I'm sorry. That genuinely...
Okay.
The indie spirit of...
No, it didn't. You're being disingenuous with your fake laughter. No, okay, so this is her one bit of evidence. Her only piece of evidence so far. This tweet from Vivian Medrano, where she says that she has people she brought on from the pilot. Like, for instance, Gooseworks and the other 8 people who you just mentioned. So maybe she was just talking about them. Nowhere does this tweet imply that, like, the whole crew is coming over.
The pilot lives on Prime Video. Animated by Bento Box. Okay.
So innocuous
that's
tweets are her evidence?
Tweet.
Yeah.
I don't know if she was lying, or if maybe she can't count, or if...
What do you mean she can't count? She didn't mention any number. It's not like she said there's 281 members from the original crew who are now on board with the show. No, she didn't mention any numbers. So what do you mean she can't count? She says artists working on the show are finally able to announce, and I'm thrilled that so many of the artists who helped craft the original vision are on board to make this show what it's destined to be. So, yeah. Maybe she just meant the ones that she was bringing over. Who knows what she was talking about? And this is 2 years before the show came out, so a lot could have changed in production between then and when the show finally was released. And, as we eventually found out, the last episode was made by Spindlehorse, so they did end up having a lot of the original crew did end up having a hand in making the season. So yeah, what's the point here?
Works and Evan and Perry Grubb. And by the way, in the pilot and pre-pilot eras, Viv would constantly go on about how much she loved her cast and crew, how she owed everything to them, how they meant the world to her, how they were like family. So that's kind of the cherry on top to this whole thing, but honestly, that's kind of the least of our problems at this point. When I was editing this audio, I realized that I never explained what the Hoonicast was, which is insane, because it's a massive deal. It's just that I was in the Has-Been fandom like 5
I don't even know what
years ago,
that is.
and the Hoonicast was like a household name at that point. If you were talking about Has-Been Hotel, you didn't need to explain what it was. The concept of somebody that is at all interested in Has-Been Hotel not knowing what the Hoonicast is just didn't even cross my mind. But I will explain it now. I just went to the wiki and
Look
it's
at that
actually
anemone.
pronounced Honeycast. Makes more sense. My bad. The Honeycast is actually still ongoing, but the episodes that are relevant to this were all in the past, so I'm going to be using past tense. So, the Honeycast was a series of live streams hosted by Ashley Nichols and Michael Kovach. Ashley Nichols
Kovach.
was the lead cleanup animator, as well as
thought
just
it
a
was
regular
Kovac.
animator on Has-Been Hotel. And she was once great close friends with Vivian Madrano, and now no longer speaks to her, which puts
okay.
her in a very, very large category. There's a large roster of people that fit that criteria. And Michael Kovach was the voice of Angel Dust.
See, if there actually is any substance to this, which it seems like based on what she's saying, there is somewhere, lead with that. Like, I don't know why she's leading with this totally non-point. She spent the first 17 minutes of this video saying absolutely jack shit. Like, this is just such a poorly written video. If there is anything to your point, say it. Just front load it with that, and then I'll be with you. But so far, I'm incredulous to everything you're saying because you're not saying anything yet. It's like, come on. Like, don't assume that your audience is going to be with you from the start, especially when you're doing an attack piece against someone who a lot of us have a certain amount of respect for or admiration for their work. You can't do that and then just expect that people are going to be on board with you at the very beginning, that you don't need to lead with your best material. No, you have to lead with your best material, or else nobody's going to take you seriously. And I'm not taking you seriously. It's sad. Pathetic presentation. Owl represents great wisdom. Yes. Okay, let's keep going.
And they also happen to be a couple in real life. It was hosted by those two, but other members of the cast and crew, and Vivian herself, would occasionally show up. Edward Bosco, in particular, Alistair's speaking voice,
I like Edward
was
Bosco.
a very common participant. But at various points, the Honeycast also featured Viv herself, Vaggie, Nifty, Husk, Serpentious, Cherry Bomb,
Vaggie?
and Tom Trench's voice actors, Charlie's singing voice actor, and Dave Capdeville, one of the writers. In the vast majority of the Has-Been-related Honeycast episodes, Nichols was also live streaming her screen as she animated for the pilot, but there are a couple that are just sort of straight-up podcasts. So the Honeycast was a place where various members of the Has-Been cast and crew would come together and chat about the behind-the-scenes of Has-Been Hotel, about random other shit, and often they would talk in character. If you want to get a feel for it, you can look up Honeycast Animatic, and that'll show you some clips of sort of the best of the Honeycast without actually having to listen to the whole Honeycast. Look up the dad jokes one, that one's good. There are, it looks like, 16 non-charity Has-Been-related episodes of the Honeycast from before the pilot came out. So those are the most relevant ones here. Honeycast episodes usually hovered at about
I don't know if
3.5
this
hours
context
long,
is
but they could
necessary.
be
Like,
as
I think
short
we
as
got the
2.5
point.
hours to
You
as
probably
long
could have
as
explained
5
all
hours,
this in like 10 seconds.
which is why, by the way, I never watched the Honeycast. I did like Has-Been Hotel. I was in the fandom, but I wasn't.
Man, okay, let's skip this explaining the Honeycast. Oh my god, look how long it keeps going. Alright, common arguments.
A very, very common argument against this being a problem with the cast is that it's completely normal for voices to change after pilots, and yeah, that's true. That's 100% true. But Has-Been isn't a normal pilot. Usually, pilot voice actors haven't put in hundreds of hours of unpaid labor and been a major component of the show's success. Pilots are... It's not a normal pilot. I don't even know how to explain how different it is. Another very common...
That's
argument...
it? That's it? It's just not a normal pilot? That's a nothing point. That's literally making no point. I guess she did technically say that they put in like hundreds of hours of unpaid labor, blah, 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 blah. I mean, no, they didn't. The voice cast did not put in hundreds of hours of unpaid labor. What they might have done is been a part of the community and helped to promote the pilot, which they believed in, and they wanted to make into an actual show. That doesn't imply that they had any expectation that they would be part of the show when it rolled into production.
Is that it's a musical. Frankly, I don't care. You can learn how to sing. Michael Kovac can sing.
No, he can't. As Angel does, especially. I mean, if you compare the performance of Michael Kovac, which I believe is how you actually pronounce his name, not Kovac. I'm not gonna rely on the word of someone who pronounces vaggie as vaggie for pronunciation. But if you compare and contrast the performance of Michael Kovac as Angel Dust in the song Addict to Blake Roman as Angel Dust in the song Poison, there's a clear difference in ability. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that the Angel Dust voice was actually kind of difficult for Michael Kovac to do. Whereas Blake Roman, and if you look at Michael Kovac, he'll like have to put his hand up to his throat in order to do that voice. Blake Roman can just do the voice. It just comes out of him. And he sings in that voice really well, because if you listen to his singing already kind of just sounds like the Angel Dust character. He puts on a little bit of an affect, but he's very close already. So, yeah, it would have been nuts to not hire Blake Roman for that role. Because it's just clear, there's a clear quality difference. And I think that you'll find that for most of the actors in the show. The only one who I actually liked more in the pilot was Edward Bosco as Alistair. These days he plays, what's his name? Stryker on Hell of a Boss. He replaced Norman Reedus. And I actually kind of like him more than Norman Reedus, too. But on Has Been No Tell, he played Alistair. And I thought there was a certain zest to his voice that Amir Talai doesn't quite capture. But on the other hand, Amir Talai was always the kind of model that Vivzie had in her head of what Alistair would sound like. His voice inspired a lot of the character. And so it was kind of a no-brainer to hire Amir Talai because he was just kind of always the inspiration for that character and to some degree or another. So even that, even that, which I don't think is like a no-brainer when it comes to quality difference, it makes sense just for the fact that it was kind of always intended that he would play that character from the beginning. And I don't think there was ever any intention to maintain the pilot voice cast in the final series. And like I said, I don't think any of the voice actors thought that there was any intention of doing that. You so far haven't provided any evidence of that. So let's keep listening.
Or you could have doubled up on hiring a voice actor and a singing actor, and I know that would have been more expensive, but A, I don't think that saving money is one of Iv's goals overall, looking at the voice actors in Hell of a Boss. And B, yeah, I don't care. You owe it to your pilot cast with the work that they did and the contributions they made to the success of the pilot and the loyalty they had to you.
Do they think so? Have you asked them? Are we going to hear from them in this video at all? I think what they have to say matters too. In fact, it probably matters a lot more than what you have to say.
You should have just double cast, even if it would have been not as sound, business-wise.
Or quality-wise. I mean, compare the acting of Charlie in the two instances. I mean, it's night and day. Erica Henriksen is just so much better in the role. She's just a way better voice actress. I mean, I just think making this argument that we should like settle for lower quality talent just because they were there from the beginning, when by the way we haven't even heard any evidence that they felt entitled to that position in the first place, or that there was any kind of agreement in the first place that their talents would continue on with the show. I mean, your whole point is that the pilot is not a normal pilot, and therefore it shouldn't operate like normal pilots. But there's no reason to think that. This is normal. There's no reason to treat it as if it is anything but normal. Other than you've just decided illogically to do so.
And then another common argument is that the original cast couldn't legally return due to something to do with unions, and this one is just straight up
Yeah, no, that's not true.
Just not true.
That was just a theory. That wasn't even an argument. That was just a theory. That was just, yeah, that's not the case. Even the creators themselves said that wasn't the case.
To be really clear, I'm not a pilot purist. I don't think that every single voice actor needed to be retained. But dropping so many of the people who helped get you where you are, the second you think you've made it big, is a disgusting thing to do.
Wow, just the hyperbole. For no reason this person believes this. This is just bullshit. This is just nonsense. Just making this absurd hyperbolic statement out of nothing.
And quite apart from the moral component of it all, it has not improved the quality of the show.
It has.
The absence of Michael Kovac in particular is a gaping hole.
No, it's not. Blake Roman does an excellent job with that role. Now, I do really like Michael Kovac's performance in the pilot, and I think he adds something to that role that Blake Roman didn't have. But Blake Roman is fantastic in that part.
What it makes me think of is the Ship of Theseus. You've probably heard of it. It's a thought experiment about...
What is this shit? Going into the Ship of Theseus over Hazbin Hotel? Give me a fucking break.
how much of something can be replaced before it becomes something different.
They're just a BS
Imagine
gossip
you're the captain of
hound.
a ship.
Yeah,
parts of
it's
your ship
shaping
get
up
run down or
that
broken.
way.
When they do, you replace them, and
I
eventually
mean,
you
listen
come
to
a
this,
point where
some
every
Ship
single
of
part of your ship
Theseus
has been replaced at
comparison,
some
like,
point. If
what
no
are you
part of the
talking
original ship
about? It's a
remains,
TV
it's still
show.
the ship you set sail with, and if it isn't, at what point did that change occur? And we have a real Ship of Theseus situation on our hands with Hazbin Hotel.
No, we don't.
Personally, I don't see it as the same.
It's not Law and Order, dude. I mean, I can understand, like, nobody who worked on the original Law and Order is still working on that show to this day. Maybe some of them. Maybe there's a producer. I don't know. The whole cast is different. But, like, yeah, I mean, the Ship of Theseus is not a moral argument. It's an ontological question. It has nothing to do with, like, was this an ethical or right decision?
Creative property. I see them as completely different because they were made by completely different people. Medrano obviously had no legal obligation to retain any of the team that created the Hazbin Hotel pilot.
Oh, you think?
But if any such thing as a creative obligation can be said to exist, an obligation to try and make sure your work is not terrible, then she had a
Not
creative
terrible.
obligation. And more importantly,
What are you talking
she
about?
had a
Hiring
moral obligation. I'm not even
hiring like proven talent versus amateurs. How is this an argument for making your work not terrible? I mean, like, that's the whole point of doing that, is so that you can make a more professional quality product. Hiring professional talent. This is an absurd video. These anti-Hazbin Hotel videos, they just always suck. What is with these people? they're just terrible. Maybe one of these days we'll come across one that's actually not bad, but so far,
very interested in arguing this point. Vivian Medrano did not summon the Hazbin Hotel pilot fully formed out of the ether. It was created by a team. And every single person that worked on the pilot brought something unique to it. Some obviously brought more than others, but everyone brought something. And for every person that wasn't retained in the move to A24, something that made the pilot what it was lost. Again, don't misunderstand. I'm not saying that every single person should have been retained. That would be stupid. It's perfectly acceptable not to retain cleanup animator number 7, who came in at the last moment and worked on like 3 minutes worth of shots. It's another thing entirely not to retain people like Ashley Nichols, Michael Kovac, Edward Bosco, who were in nearly every episode of the Hoonicast. To zoom in on the voice actor bit, let's check out Thank You and Good Night. Thank You and Good Night is a farewell song that was released very recently. It was produced by the original singing voice of Alistair, and it features the original singing voice actors of Angel Dust, Charlie, Cherry Bomb, and Nifty. It was released, I think, at the same time as the first episode of Hazbin proper, and completely without Vivian Medrano's involvement. And the description and the pinned comment are not aggressive. They're not even passive-aggressive. They even congratulate, Vivian and the new cast. They're very professional. But I don't think it's hard to see that professionalism is a layer of plausible deniability. There are also things in there that are very candid and a little bit heartbreaking. I'm going to show the full description and the full pinned comment on screen in the interest of completion and, unbiasedness. but I'm only going to read some selections. And it's worth noting that it does say multiple times that they have no hard feelings, that they're happy for the new cast, etc. That's definitely worth noting. I don't want to cherry pick, but personally, I look at this and I see mostly professionalism, not sincerity. It's the equivalent of signing "thank you for your time" in a workplace email to somebody that you actually hate. There are just some environments where everyone has to be adults and play nice. But even in those environments, people will slip in little remarks. And if you completely disagree with me and you're, frustrated, dude, you're literally putting up evidence that disproves you, they are saying that they're fine, I completely understand that. I can completely see how that's a very understandable position
Get to
take.
the
That's
point.
fair.
Oh my god.
But personally, the grander picture and the other evidence...
God, this is so boring. Just read the shit that you want to read.
really keeps me from taking this at face value. Q. Why were you all recast? A.
Okay, here we go.
There's been a lot of speculation that we couldn't join the union, we can't sing, A24 voice 3 higher. The simple answer is that Viv always wanted a Broadway cast, and when the show got
Exactly.
picked up, she had the opportunity to get it.
Exactly.
That's show
and this
business,
is
baby, no
something
hard
that
feelings.
everyone knew from the very beginning. Everyone knew that Vivian was a Broadway fan and that she wanted a Broadway cast. Is there any evidence that anybody did not know this or was deceived in any way about their role in this project? I don't think there was, ever.
Also, I thought Ed was Q. I thought Ed was the voice of Alistair. A. Ed was the speaking voice of Alistair in the pilot. I was the singing voice. We asked Ed to do the opening monologue, but he said he couldn't participate as it might jeopardize his role as Stryker in Hell of a Boss. And then, fairly soon after, that answer was
Interesting.
edited to he felt it might be a conflict of interest.
Okay, so here we are how many minutes? We're half an hour into this video, and we finally get our first actual piece of evidence that something might be wrong with Vivian Medrano. Holy shit, do you not know how to make a video? Because if I were put in charge of making a hit piece against Vivian Medrano, this kind of thing would be what I would lead with. I would be like, check out this edited comment. Look at what Edward Bosco had to report about his relationship with Spindlehorse. That's some actually, substantive material that you can use as evidence for building a case against Vivian Medrano. Spending half an hour trying to set up this point before you finally get to anything that's worth a shit, this is just abysmal video making. This is just this. I cannot stress enough how much I feel like you have wasted my time with this video. Okay. But let's actually look at this. So yeah, interesting. So he says that he didn't want to do the opening monologue for this fan-made song, or I guess, yeah, fan-made. If the original voice cast could be considered fans, sort of unofficial song, we could say. And the reason he didn't want to do this monologue is because he thought it might create friction with the producers of Hell of a Boss. Which is fascinating that he would feel like that would be a concern for him. It does suggest something about the culture of Spindlehorse. But that comment was amended, and who knows why it was amended. It could have been on the request of Edward Bosco. Maybe he changed his mind, or maybe he just wanted to, again, keep anything that could jeopardize his relationship with Spindlehorse off the table. That could have been also why he had it amended, or he requested that it be amended. Or perhaps he didn't request it at all. Perhaps the people who wrote this just amended it themselves because they had that thought. There's a lot that we don't know about this, but it is suggestive of a bigger issue. Let's keep going.
As he also voices Stryker in Hell of a Boss. This edit happened too quickly for the Wayback Machine to catch it, but there are replies to the pinned comment that quote the original wording. And this isn't mentioned anywhere, but singing the song, Vagie's in the background because her voice actress didn't want to come back. Singing the song are Cherry Bomb, Husk, Angel, Alistair, Charlie, Nifty. Except Husk's voice actor didn't come back, and they don't mention that anywhere. But I think it's odd that Gabriel Brown is doing double duty as Alistair and Husk, whereas
that is kind of weird.
Vagie, who is a more important character than Husk, when her voice actress didn't want to come back, they didn't include her in the song. And I think maybe it's not a coincidence that, along with Ed Bosco, Mick Lauer is, I think, the only voice actor here still affiliated with...
because he was in Hazbin Hotel. So that's interesting that he also, still affiliated with Hazbin Hotel, did not want to participate in this work. But what it indicates to me is, see, I know of a similar situation, I guess, going on with Greg Farshtey, who was the lead writer on Bionicle back in the day. And the thing that happened with Greg is that he still works at Lego doing story work for various Lego products like Ninjago and stuff. But what happened with him is that he was really invested in Bionicle, and it was a world that he had done a whole lot to kind of flesh out with his writing. And for a long time, for, maybe a year or two after Bionicle ended in 2010, he was continuing to do story serials, maybe even longer than that. He was continuing to do story serials on Bionicle's website. But the problem is that eventually the Lego company didn't want to keep paying for that website to stay up. But without that website available, there was no official channel, no official venue for Greg Farshtey to keep writing his story serials. And he couldn't just write them on his own because he's still working for Lego. And with his working relationship with Lego, he cannot write fan fiction about other Lego products. And so he's his hands are tied now, where until he retires from his job, he will not be able to continue writing those story serials that he was writing earlier. So I think with working relationships like this, they can create issues like that where these two actors are still working with this company. And so that makes it a pricklier situation when they're trying to do fan fiction and, fan works, unofficial works. It makes it a little bit prickly. Now, the thing is that I've seen voice actors from Glitch, from Digital Circus, do stuff like this, and they seem to get away with it just fine. And so you would imagine that a similar kind of culture would exist over at Spindlehorse, that they would be able to do stuff like this just fine. And Spindlehorse actually has a history of not being very litigious in this category at all. Like, they've allowed people historically to make their own merchandise based on their shows on Etsy. They've allowed that. So... yeah, it surprises me that both of these actors would not feel comfortable doing a project like this, when obviously, it's not anything that would negatively impact the show or the show's IP, really. But still, there seems to be something that they're not telling us about why. Some agreement, maybe part of the terms of their contract. But that's interesting. But I don't think we know enough about this situation to really say what's going on or how this reflects on Vivian Medrano personally. But let's keep watching.
With Medrano, he was, like I said, he was the prestigious role of Trenchcoat Demon in the Has-Been series. It could just be a coincidence. But I think it's more likely than not that Mick Lauer originally was in the song and then was removed for similar reasons as why Ed Bosco wouldn't come in the first place. Oh, Vaggie also still associated, or Vaggie's voice actor also is still associated with Viv. So none of the ones that are associated with Viv came back. And they state very clearly that the only reason they were dropped is because Viv wanted to drop them. And Ed Bosco thought that participating might jeopardize his role.
Backdoor contractual discussions, personal choices that the individuals concerned didn't want to broach. Yeah, like, when we're talking about, yeah, it was something we can speculate about, but it's not exactly maybe something to do with A24 and Amazon. Maybe. It could actually be A24. Well, yeah, who knows? The thing is, Hell of a Boss, the show that Edward Bosco works on, is not affiliated with A24. And so that makes me wonder, well, then why is it that Edward Bosco can't work on a fan song for an A24 property? Because the show that he's working on is not made by A24. But since Spindlehorse, of course, is also working on Has-Been Hotel, that it makes it all a bit confusing. So yeah, it's the sort of thing where, like, okay, we can speculate about this, but I just don't see that there's enough here as far as statements go to make any actual conclusions about Vivian from all of this. Seems like a bit of a reach so far.
As Stryker. Maybe because Vivienne would can him because she's...
Maybe, but who knows? I mean, we're just making this up at this point. We're just speculating. We're just idly chit-chatting about this. I mean, you could say maybe, but it also could be maybe not. Who knows? I mean, this is very presumptive, I think, to present this as if it's good enough evidence to conclude.
A petty bitch. I'm sorry, having done all of this, well, calling it research is a little grandiose, but having combed through all this shit, I hold an intense disdain for
yeah,
Vivian
but
Medrano
you're coming at this with this intense disdain, but so far you're providing nothing to back it up. And this is the problem that I'm having with this video, is you waited 30 minutes before you got to anything that was actually substantive in any way for justifying your hatred of Vivian Medrano. And even then, it was very, very tiny little watery bit of evidence that barely has anything behind it, and now you're coming out with this just visceral disdain, and it's like, well, that's not how you organize an argument. You organize an argument by presenting the story, the smoking gun, give the details, give the gossip, fucking let me have it. And then afterwards, if you want to say that you hate Vivian Medrano and you've done the work of presenting why you hate Vivian Medrano already, then I can get behind you. But so far, you just look like a petty, vindictive bitch to me. That's what you just look like, a totally unlikable piece of shit human being, because that's what you're presenting on camera, or not on camera with your voice. You're presenting pictures of little bears on camera, but you know what I'm saying? Like, you just come across as a totally unlikable piece of shit in this video. Like, what other conclusion am I supposed to draw from this? So, like, I'm not saying that you're wrong, because I haven't seen enough of this video to know that you're definitively wrong, and this is only part 1. But so far, I have no reason to conclude that anything you're saying it should be taken seriously. This video should be a lesson to anyone who wants to make an attack piece like this. Of just, like, all the wrong ways to go about doing it.
But I hope you will, by the end of the video. I hope you'll join me. Gabriel C. Brown, the singing voice of Alastor and the person that posted thank you and good night, has been not open, but more open than the rest about the general sort.
And since they haven't said anything, makes me wonder if it's all just a big nothing burger. Yeah, that's the thing. You're always going to be wondering that until you're presented with any evidence. But let's hear what she has to say about the creator of this song.
Sort of f***ed-upness of the whole situation. I think for a couple of reasons. I think both because he's just a little bit older than most of the rest of the main players, and also because he has a lot of stuff going on other than voice acting, so I don't think he's as afraid as the others that he might get blacklisted from his dream career. As far as I know, Gabriel C. Brown was the only voice actor to publicly react with anger and despair to the original news. On October 12, 2021, Brown tweeted the following: I pour my heart and my soul into everything I do, but lately I've been feeling like no matter how hard I try, it isn't good enough. The fact that somebody noticed the attention to detail and took the
who does he play?
time to comment on it absolutely made my day. Thank you.
Oh, is he the singing voice of Alistair?
To all who notice, heart emoji. Somebody replied with, yeah, it was good. Just the original song you first made, Insane, was better than the new version. All my remakes aren't that great either. Sometimes remakes are good, sometimes not. Just keep trying.
Oh, this guy made Insane, too.
Brown replied with, I'm not talking about this specific video. I'm talking about the fact that despite my time and effort, I was recast. Somebody else replies with, you were recast as the singing voice for Alistair? And Brown says, yeah, they replaced me. Then somebody else replies with a tweet that I can't see, but it doesn't super matter. And Brown replies to that with, thank you, Katie. That's extremely kind. Truth is, I would rather be involved in a smaller project that values me than a bigger project that doesn't. The BBU family is the best. Heart emoji. The middle tweet, the despite my time and effort one, has since been deleted, but all of the others are still up, even though, honestly, I feel like that last one is kind of the most c***y one. Also, I'm going to put some screenshots from Gabriel C. Brown's YouTube.
Always kind of annoying censoring your own words, okay, so here we're getting one guy who actually seems to have been butthurt by the whole situation, genuinely. He really feels that he was wronged for being recast. So here we get some actual, I asked earlier for the voices of the actual voice cast. I asked earlier to be given examples of them complaining about this, and now we're seeing one very clear example of complaining about this.
To fandom wiki page up, and I would highly recommend pausing to read them, because this guy has led a wild life. Here's a YouTube comment from Has-Been's voice director on this being dumb as hell. I laughed once I heard they were all replaced. The irony of it, one of the most successful indie projects removed of all traces of its indie roots. That starts to sum it up. Also, all of the voice actors were completely f***ed over, but the most upsetting one to me is the voice actress of Cherry Bomb. Cherry Bomb's VA, Crystal Laporte, got the news that she would not be coming back as Cherry Bomb only very shortly before her fiance died. I think her fiance died of pulmonary disease on October 18th, 2021, and email was sent on October 7th. Crystal has gone on record saying that it was the last heartbreak he ever helped her through. So that's pretty fucked up.
Okay, so another person
Vivian sent out the email before the
unhappy
fiance's
about
death, not after, and she also didn't kill the fiance.
Which is of course leading to some evidence that there was a deception at play, or that they were promised more than they got. Because if these two people are both complaining about being recast, that implies that they were promised that they wouldn't be recast, doesn't it? Although they haven't outright, from what I've seen.
Vivian sent out the email before the fiance's.
From what I've seen, they haven't outright stated that. There aren't really words to describe the feelings of devastation and heartbreak when I say that I was also not asked to return to Has-Been Hotel. However, those feelings are dwarfed in comparison to the gratitude, kinship, and blah, 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 toward the cast, crew, and Viv. So yeah, no actual indication of its deception at play. Which, to me, I think, if you're assuming that you're not going to be recast, and then you get recast, I mean, who's to blame for that other than you? Who's to blame for the heartbreak and devastation other than the person who made the assumption? Just, to me, this isn't saying anything about Viv. I think you're allowed to be disappointed privately, but blaming that on someone else, I don't think is a very classy move, and I don't think that's something that this person did. Of reading this, it doesn't seem like she blamed Vivian. She just said that she was personally disappointed. But the person who makes this video, Autistic Swag, is blaming Vivian for this. And presenting this situation that just happened to happen right as her husband died, as if Vivian had anything to do with her husband dying. Like, come on. Are you kidding me? You're acting like this person is the one who was screwed over the most just because her husband happened to die right after this? I mean, this is very dishonest, I think, the framing.
That's pretty fucked up. I mean, Vivian sent out the email before the fiance's death, not after, and she also didn't kill the fiance. But I think it's worth mentioning just because I don't know, it's just awful.
Yeah, I don't know. That's the reason.
If you were thinking that it couldn't get any worse...
There's no actual reason to mention this, because it doesn't actually say anything about Vivian that any of this happened. And you acknowledge that, but you're just including it for emotional effect. Because all of this video is very emotional and illogical so far,
Than that, I'm about to rock your world. So, after Crystal Laporte's fiance and partner of 9 years died, Ashley Nichols hosted a live stream to raise money for, the incredible amount of medical debt and also lease obligations and the cost of his cremation and urn and just a bunch of other shit. So, Ashley Nichols hosted a live stream where donations would go towards that. And Vivian Madrano told them that they couldn't use any of the has-been characters' voices. Like, they couldn't take voice requests for any of the has-been characters. It's 3 minutes into the video. Nichols says, "We can't take any has-been related requests because Vivzy doesn't want anybody using any has-been related stuff because it's her IP." Motherfucker! A man died! Like, if you're not gonna help out at all, which I know you could because I know you're rich, you could at least not actively get in the way. Everyone involved here knew that...
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Vivian has the rights to the pilot. So... Yeah, maybe I'm wrong, but I think she does. So I don't imagine that there would be any issue with the pilot voice actors doing the voices outside of official channels. So yeah, that does strike me as a little weird. Like kind of an overreach. I'm not sure what her reasoning behind doing that kind of move is. I would be interested in hearing her explanation.
Voice requests were the biggest moneymaker in the Honeycast. A lot of people came to the stream because, it was a big get-together to send off and honor a man that they all really cared for.
Well,
and also,
if voice requests were big money on the Honeycast originally, and Vivian was fine with that up until we get to the actual casting process on the show, maybe that indicates that something about the agreement has changed. That, I don't know. It just feels like without explanation for why this decision was made, I'm left without a whole lot of conclusions.
Funds for his new widow, who has been left with over $7 million in medical debt. So, lots of people showed up because, that's sort of an important event to show up to. Probably don't need to say this, but Viv was not one of those people. Although, in her defense, I doubt that she was invited. Also in the stream were Michael Kovac and Edward Bosco, the voices of Angel Dust and Alistair. The two most popular characters and the two most frequent voice actors that would appear on the Honeycast. If Vivian Madrano had not said, "You can't speak in the voice of Alistair or Angel Dust or take requests," this stream would have earned significantly more money. That is just sort of a fact, the way that the Earth is round. And also on screen, I'm going to put up a screenshot of a Discord conversation and a screenshot of an email. Do keep in mind that both of these are alleged. These are hang on. I categorize evidence for Viv sucking in 5 different categories, from most to least credible. Documented, substantiated sourced allegations, unsubstantiated sourced allegations, substantiated unsourced allegations, and finally unsubstantiated unsourced allegations. So this is what I would call substantiated unsourced allegations. They're substantiated in that there is some evidence, but they are, there's a limited pool of who it could have been, but if they are true, they were leaked by an anonymous person. Nobody
Okay.
was willing to stand up and put their real name behind these, but they do have some evidence. Obviously, it's
Let me
not...
see.
Actually, let me take a quick side note to talk about criminal and civil law. No, please
Oh my
don't go. It's
fucking
relevant.
god. No, it's not.
You've probably heard of the phrase "beyond a reasonable doubt." Guilty beyond
This
a
is
reasonable
not
doubt
relevant.
is the standard.
Let's get to the end of
But
that.
the Discord screenshot, all names are redacted, but it's presumably a conversation amongst the pilot cast, and somebody says that Viv intended to keep Michael and Ed from the beginning, and she also implied she'd do what she could to keep everyone, and then turned around and...
Wait. I mean, it was never a guarantee, so it's not like she was promising we would reprise. She never intended to keep any of the VAs from the beginning except for Michael and Ed, apparently. But she really implied she'd do everything she could to keep everyone. And then turned around and told people she fired them because they're friends with me? Huh? I wonder who this is. Or at least one of the reasons she fired them. I'm less upset about myself being recast and more so upset that literally the entire cast got replaced. And then someone replied to that one that made me go, huh? God, this is so fucking petty. You all did nothing but promote and give Has-Been attention. Why the hell did she hate y'all so much? To be honest, I think blank being recast makes sense because I'm a blank voicing a blank. It makes no sense to cast a more diverse it makes sense to cast a more diverse performer for the role. Oh. Who is this then? Everyone else, though, I don't really get it. I wonder if this is Kovac? Because Kovac was a straight man playing a gay spider? Or maybe it's Vaggie. It's a white woman voicing a mestizo angel, I guess is what she is. That's who I'm guessing it is. It's the original. I'm guessing this is the original voice of Vaggie. Which is interesting then. Because that would imply that there was some sort of falling out between her and Vivzy Pop. Although, wasn't it said that she's still affiliated with Vivzy Pop? So maybe it's not her. Huh. But yeah, what this is saying, though, is that there was indeed some sort of a deception. Because she really implied she'd do everything she could to keep everyone. Yeah. So if that's the case, then you could say, yeah, she deceived people. And she should get some criticism for that. This is interesting, actually. Interesting little bit of data here.
And told people she fired them because they're friends with me. Or at least
Alistair
one of the
or
reasons she
Vaggie.
fired them. Then there's...
Yeah, it's funny. Alistair could be it. But I don't think it was ever confirmed that Alistair is black. I think that's just a fan theory. So I was thinking that at first, but now I'm kind of like, yeah.
There's a redacted message that I feel like it's probably from, assuming this is all real, allegations, etc. Is probably from Michael about Angel Dust. because I think that's the only character with a unique minority status.
No, there's Vaggie.
But, censored for plausible deniability. And then the email is... And I'm more likely to believe this one than I am to believe the Discord screenshot, even though honestly I believe that too. This is allegedly the email.
Okay, so this looks like a legit email from Vivian. Hey guys, I wanted to wait until everything was officially confirmed. This is October 7th, 2021. Before letting you all know, it is with the heaviest heart that I have to let you know we are going with a new cast for the Has-Been series. Each role was a difficult decision, and everything was deeply considered on my end every step of the way. We ultimately had to consider everything from necessity for singers, the inability to freely budget for Tafts? Like William Howard Taft? The diversity or direction for the characters, and also the considerations of the studio as well. The requirements of the series are so different from before, and this was the result. This sounds like bullshit, though, because I think this sounds like this sounds like she's buttering them up, trying to, like, let them down gently, when in reality, she just didn't want them. Yeah, this is... What I read this as is she wants to let them go because she just doesn't want them on the series. But she can't say that because she still likes them and wants to have a good relationship with them and is grateful for what they did for her. And so she's like, I deeply considered everything, the necessity for the singers, the inability to freely budget for Tafts, the considerations of the studio, the requirements are different. It's like very vague, just like, exactly where do I not fit into this scheme of yours? So, yeah. See, I feel like this would have been much easier to manage if she hadn't gone around saying, yeah, we'll try to keep you on the show. Yeah, we'll try. Yeah, we'll see what we can do. Yeah, I think you'll be a part of the main series. If she had made it clear from the beginning, I'm only hiring you for the pilot, nothing else, then it would have been clear, okay, this is the relationship we have. I'm doing this one job. But yeah, it seems like a bit weaselly, a bit of a weasel maneuver was going on here. Like, it's the studio and it's like, be real. Is that really why you're dropping them? I don't think so. Especially when everyone seems to know that the reason you dropped them was because you wanted a Broadway cast.
That Viv sent to the original cast. Basically, she says, yeah, we dropped you all, but you cannot even begin to express how valued you are all to me. Blah, 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 blah. I can't thank you enough. Yeah, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for believing in my project. Thank you for believing in me, loving the characters, bringing them to life. Good people, good friends.
She was trying to let them down easy by being wishy-washy. Yeah.
Whatever.
I can see through this. This is bullshit.
There aren't enough margaritas in the world to get me through this woman's behavior. That was Vivzy Pop Sucks Eggs Part 1.
This video should have been maybe 6 minutes long. It was 44 minutes long. You could have said all of that in maybe 6 minutes. That was a total failure of a video. But in the end, we at least got a little bit that was worth watching for. I might review the other part of the video at a later date. But yeah, we did get some evidence that Vivian was a bit of a backstabber, you know, a little bit cutthroat, a little bit like willing to butter people up and then turn her back on them when it was convenient for her to do so. Because there was a pattern with two people, at least, being disappointed. And with the whole situation with the song, because that song was created by this guy who was the singing voice of Alistair, who had an issue with Vivian. Now the people who are working with Vivian still didn't want to work with him. Shows that there was drama going on. That this was not a smooth and easy process of replacing this cast. That people got misled. Interesting. Rocky and confusing transition, it seems. Yeah. There was an implication that these people would be retained. But they weren't retained. Well, I guess that's the end, because I'm not getting any more comments. So,